welcome to another episode of Pivot and Prosper. This is a podcast where we speak with entrepreneurs, business owners, and C-suite executives in the marketing industry to hear their stories of growth with relentless perseverance. Today, I have the joy of introducing Mat Casner from Kansas City. Matt is the founder of RedLogic Communications and has been a marketing leader for over 25 years. His business focuses on agency-level creatives and strategic marketing to small and growing businesses. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time to hop on here with me today.
Joe, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me here today.
Awesome. Well, we kind of had some great discussions before I pressed the record button here. I'm really excited to learn more and share more about your journey, marketing expertise, etc. And with that, let's kind of get kicked off with the first big question here. Talk to me a little bit about the biggest surprise you've had while operating as a business owner over the last, let's say, 6 months, and how you would prepare for it, the next time this happens, or you've seen this kind of evolve. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest surprise that I've seen kind of in the last 6 months has been just how businesses that I work with have been probably hungrier than ever before to grow in the marketing space. And I can't tell you exactly why. I don't know. I'm sure it's probably a combination of people having to retool after the pandemic and just the shifting of HR around the whole marketing department in a lot of companies. But I've had more and more conversations with CEOs and presidents who have really been searching. And I again, maybe it's just a demographic of businesses that I serve in. But I found myself in the last 6 months just answering a lot of cold calls, just saying, how can we take advantage of this current digital landscape? We've got all these new platforms that are out there, and we just don't know where to start. We don't know how to leverage them, which ones are right for our businesses. And so I kind of think with the changes that are happening right now in the digital marketplace is creating a need, creating a little bit of a vacuum in the knowledge sector. AI right now I think is probably stomping the gas pedal because everybody's thinking that it's going to solve their problems. I'm not saying it's not a great tool, but it's creating a lot of questions.
Yeah, great one there. I couldn't agree more. I mean, with the evolution coming up and the needs that these CEOs, founders have, it's a whole nother job. It literally is a whole nother job, right? To understand what direction need to be going in the background, the market research, et cetera, and having you kind of come in and, geez, I'm sure that takes a lot of weight off their shoulders as well when they can take a breath of fresh air a little bit, right?
It's a stress for them. I mean, they know they have to compete. They know they have to be there because they know their competition is going to find a way to get there somehow. And to just come along and find a partner, find somebody that they can trust and rely. I mean, literally, the blood pressure goes down.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, this too, just to add on top of that, there's marketing as a whole, right? There's awareness, there's this recognition, trust, all of that. But to get someone to convert, what is the ultimate thing you need to do? Solve someone's problem. And they have a problem and they're coming in and just taking that. And, it's just the weight, as you mentioned, which is what we try and do. I love it. What would you say that you've struggled with the most while operating in your current role as a business owner?
That's a great question. Identity, we were talking, we had some brief comments before we started recording here. But identity is something that even as professionals, we have to get clear on. We help other businesses really define their value proposition, or define them as terms of how they serve or what products they supply or problems they solve. I think as professionals, sometimes, we have a hard time defining that for ourselves. And as a creative, I can tell you, and this is just over 30 years of experience, I'm my own worst client.
Me too, man.
The carpenter's, the cobbler's son has no shoes. I think even redefining myself in this post-pandemic economy, we mentioned, finding the fractional type of definition answered a lot of questions for me professionally, given where I am, and how do I communicate my expertise to a client, to a business, to a CEO in a way that they can really grasp who it is and what I do and the value that I can bring to them.
You couldn't have said it better. You and I are, yes, that's, I have struggled with that as well too. I'm my own worst client, and I hop on calls, and geez, when I first got started, I had the tendency of talking like 70% of the time, talking about features, benefits, and they're like, I have no idea what any of this means, man. But well, what is CRO? What is CTA? What are all these acronyms? I have no clue, and that's my world, right? And try and portray that, and then when I don't want to say I dumbed it down. That's not maybe the right wording, but I made it able to be understood by my parents when I hop on a call.
Yep.
And they have zero marketing background, right? If they can understand the high level of what I'm pitching, and okay, yes, I have this problem. So you do this in this time frame, and this is your type of guarantee. Say no more. But yes, I've probably recrafted my elevator pitch probably 1,000 times just so people can understand.
Ever evolving.
Agreed. Right? What would you say are some of the key skills or knowledge that are most important for success in this marketing industry in the next few years?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I've had to learn, especially as I've kind of gone into this fractional role, is even my own limitations. I've had a lot of experience. I'd say probably, I mean, this is a lesson that I learned even a couple of years ago. I'm like you. I can get in a room and I can fill it up with all kinds of things. But for me, I actually try to listen more. I try to get in the room and really listen to what the client says, and then, for me, I used to be the guy that would like to say, "Oh, I could promise everything for you." I think for me, even though I'm coming in and saying, I've got this fractional kind of a umbrella that I'm working under, just being really honest with them and telling them where my deficits are. If I don't understand something really well, being honest about that, I could say I could go do some research on that. I'd be glad to report back on that. But to be honest with you, a lot of CEOs resonate with that honesty. And to me, I think that, one of the ways that we can really gain someone's trust is just being frank and honest with them. I don't think anyone who hires us expects that we're going to be a magic worker. I mean, they want to get results. They want to move things forward. But I mean, hopefully they understand that, I'm a guy with a limited amount of experience, and there's going to be things that I'm going to come to the table with that I may or may not be able to fulfill, and I may have to get some outside help, and that's okay.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When even with clients I work with too, can you help us with social media marketing, or are you an expert in lead generation? And like, what if we want to do YouTube strategy on this? I could talk about it, but I'm not an expert by any means. And I'd probably engage with someone else, and I'd let them know, that way they feel comfortable. Because last thing I want to do is, and it sounds like you're the same way as well too. It's caring for our clients in a matter where they hire us for a specific reason to solve a specific problem. Right. And if there needs to be additional resources to solve more problems, then yes, let's make it happen. But I don't want to create more problems for you. I want to solve those problems for you and trust. Agreed. Agreed. Let's shift into another topic here. Think about a critical decision you made that was a turning point in your life, or your business specifically. If you'd chosen differently, where do you think you and your business would be today? What was that key thing, you think?
So I can tell you that a lot of my work prior to the pandemic was very transactional. Find a client, find a project, do the project, rinse and repeat. Now I do have a lot of retainer, a lot of ongoing clients that I've been able to maintain over the years. But I think for myself, one of the things that I was really missing was just the whole value perspective. And some people learn this lesson earlier in their careers, but for me, I think I was undercharging. And one of the things that I did was I remapped kind of my pricing structure, kind of in the year of the pandemic in 2020. And I was prompted to do this through some people that I was talking with. For me, it was a bit of an experiment. And yeah, I could have continued to move along with the way things were going, which wasn't bad, but it was still transactional.
Yeah.
And what I did in 2020 was I really started to reposition the value that I was bringing. And this was about the same time that I was kind of trying to take on that fractional title. And I literally watched in a span of about 12 months my my value and pricing structures about quadruple. And from the start of 2020 to the end of 2020. And for me, what really became catalytic was the time I was able to buy back for myself.
Yeah, I love it.
And for me, having been an independent creative and marketing consultant for 20 years, who has done a lot of transactional work, trading time for money, really tweaking that value proposition and my pricing really did create what I really was looking for in my career, which was buying back time. And I had mentioned to you, I've got some kids and a new grandchild, and for me, time's become the most valuable thing that I've got. Always has been, but this has given me really some new keys to head down this new value path that it really has unlocked some things for me. So yeah, that 2020 pandemic, when I started playing with my pricing model and the value and just the way that I was positioning myself to the client, again with that whole, that fractional title carries with it a little bit of carries with it more value, because you've got the strategy, you've got the planning, you've got a lot of those things in there that really the CEOs and the presidents are looking for. But had I not done that, I'd probably be too busy to be sitting on a podcast talking to you right now.
Yeah, that really hits home as well too. Is I took a pivot in my business and did something similar. I couldn't agree more. It's time is our most valuable asset, right? And many times business owners, as we're rushing, and we get overworked, overwhelmed, all the above. Time is a liability,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
So buying back our time, yes, knowing our value, staying on top of it, treating our clients like all of them like gold, having a pool of raving fans that are thrilled with your work, because the transactional efforts, I think, in these young gurus on YouTube that talk about, hey, go do this and just transaction, that only lasts so long until that next milestone of the business just can't be achieved otherwise, and you get burned out.
Yeah, I mean, I only have so many hours in a week that I can work, and be productive and keep stuff on the level. Otherwise, I'm just running on fumes.
I 100% hear you. I love it and agree. Now, looking towards the future, what would you say are some emerging trends that you believe will redefine the industry in the next, let's say 10 years?
Well, I mean, AI's got to be at the top of that list right now. It's now permeated so much of what I'm doing. I mean, I think I get my email, and probably every week I'm reading about a new tool that's been deployed that can be used in a marketing arsenal. And I think right now, the dust certainly hasn't settled on this, and it's kind of like a new paradigm, kind of like when Google hit the market. We don't know where this whole thing is going to go, but I think right now, no matter where you are, you need to educate and you need to get up to speed. I mean, don't stick your head in the sand, like it or not like it. I think there is potential. I've even found ways to buy back time in my own job, in my own business by leveraging AI. And to be fair, I mean, when it first came out, I was skeptical. Definitely had some negative pushback, philosophically maybe, or, ethically. But I think that, once I've been allowed myself to kind of, learn and discover ways that I can leverage it, and, in a safe and in a profitable way, I think it's going to become a tool. And so, I think, I mean, definitely sooner than the next 10 years. I think we're probably looking at the next 2 or 3, just watching how this AI thing is going to reshape and hopefully be a benefit for entrepreneurs, business owners.
Agreed. Agreed. I think it's a common answer that's brought up too, with different flavor, all the above of that discussion of AI. It's interesting to talk too about what AI is and what it isn't,
Right.
of key pieces there too. I mean, big one for me when it came out. Okay, I've quickly learned that AI is not my replacement for a copywriter.
Oh my
It's
gosh, no.
not even close, right? Creative outside the box thinking, or maybe just to do some research through some SERP data or whatever it may be, or organize items, or geez, even summarize a meeting through transcript. We could go this. Yeah, a helping tool, but to fully replace someone in that realm, or especially a copywriter, not. But
No.
maybe in 10 years, I don't, this is going to be interesting. I don't know.
I,
It's going to be
I
tough.
to me, I think about, I think about the industries like photography and graphic design, and the advent of a cell phone camera that can capture a 30 megapixel image and greater. 4K video does not substitute for a creative eye. A piece of marketing copy cannot be generated by AI that could be created by someone who's a storyteller, who can
You
use
said it.
story, nuance, emotion. So I think, while you're right, there's a power that AI can bring to us in terms of some of the tools, and maybe save us some time. It actually might make that organic creator more valuable, more
I agree.
desirable.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And people can sniff it out now.
Oh yeah.
But at first, marketers could sniff it out. Now the average consumer can sniff it out. They know AI wrote this. This is a mass email dump. Okay, yeah, you didn't come. Hi, Joe. I saw you on LinkedIn. Your profile looked interesting. No, you didn't. Right. All that. I agree. I agree. We'll see what happens next 10 years. Maybe we'll do a recap or something along those lines.
That's good.
um, Amazing here. So let's kind of shift into this last component here about, with your experience, and we kind of talked about this a little bit too before I pressed record. Having the experience, being able to pivot throughout the industry through years after years after years, and working with so many different companies, comes a lot of knowledge, right, and wisdom. So suppose you were given the opportunity to mentor a young entrepreneur. Maybe it was you 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Who knows? What single piece of advice, or 2-3 pieces of advice, would you give them, and why?
Number one is, and this was something that I adopted in my own business. After I had started listening to some people wiser, smarter, than me, was find a plan that you can implement in your business and work the plan. Be tough. I love the word that you used at the beginning of the show: resilient, persevere, be a survivor. Owning a business isn't easy. You've got to, it requires sacrifice. It requires getting out of your comfort zone in some crazy ways sometimes. So to me, that persistence, that jump in it and be in it for the long game, and get some thick skin, because there's going to be tough times, is critical. The next piece of advice I would say is, and this is, anybody can do this, is become an expert in marketing, or in managing relationships with people. Be a people person. Be a person who values people. That is so much more valuable than a fancy sales pitch. Because I think today, and we just hinted on it more than ever, people value authenticity. People value, if I'm going to come into someone's email box, I don't want it to sound like the same email that I just sent to the last 1,000 people. There needs to be something in there personal that's going to help resonate and connect. I work with a lot of marketing professionals, and I help coach them. And I tell them, I'm like, I call it the pebble principle. I throw a pebble in a pond, and it creates a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pebbles aren't big, but they are singular. And when we have a conversation with people, make sure your conversation is singular. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation, but we need to communicate with people, whether they're prospects, whether they're existing clients, past clients, referrals, partners, or I call legacy people, who are just people that are important to us in our life, or maybe it's a cold prospect.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be good managers of relationships. to me, that's what builds longevity. That's what really builds stability in a business, is that customer relationship, not that you just have for that one transaction, but you can have throughout the life of your business. I'm very, very blessed. I've got clients in my business that have been paying me month over month for 15 years.
Wow.
And that's just because I value them. I don't take them for granted, and understand that it's so much easier to sell to an existing client than it is to go out and find a brand new one, which is not my words. Those are timeless, but it certainly rings true.
Yeah, you said the key thing there, but the first thing I think back is, you value them, they value you. Like, this is without you plugged in to solve their problems, help, assist, guide, strategy, foundation, block. I can go on and on and on and on. I mean, where would they be today, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's fantastic. I really appreciate all those comments, bits of education, all the above there. Your experience has been tremendous and fantastic. I am a Texas guy, and I do love the barbecue down here, but I will say Oklahoma Joe's is still one of the top 5 for me in Kansas City.
The
I
Z
do love,
Man, baby.
that's right. One of the most underrated cities in the country, in my opinion. I think it's a beautiful city, and more people should go travel and check it out. But
Yeah.
hey, man, I truly appreciate your time here again. I'm going to link below your website and your business and your LinkedIn profile as well, for anyone who's like to kick off or have a strategy call with Matt and talk about the issues in their business. And otherwise, I really appreciate your time. And again, thank you so much.
Joe, it's been an honor. Thank you for having me today.
Appreciate it.